Yeah.
No questions, Stu. Well, and with Zoom, the technology we have available, it's very easy for us to connect to you too. So, you know, if you get caught on something, don't hesitate. And we can hop on Zoom, and I'm recording this today too. So, I'm supposed to have Medicine Valley connected. I haven't seen her yet. So, but you know, this is an option to, you know, if you get stuck on it, then we can connect to you and help you out. So, okay.
I'm Michelle Lapp from Heath Center. The first year that you went to the schools doing it, was a disaster. Last year, after you showed us how to do those spreadsheets and stuff, that went really smoothly.
Great.
The teachers go in, order, the superintendent approves, I approve, and place the orders.
Yep. Super.
No,
No improvements. Good. We like hearing that, but
Rob's out, new superintendent here.
learning
how this works.
Okay. Well, we'll give you an overview of it. So that's where we'll get started. We'll start with some data sharing, and I know people just love looking at data. That's a little sarcasm there, obviously, but what I'm going to share with you here is just to give you an idea of the annual buy savings. And so what we did is we took and had Equal Level, which is the vendor that provides the marketplace to us, run a query against all those other catalogs that are available year-round that have already been bid out, most of them nationally bid, and then compare that to our annual buy pricing. And what is the savings between that? So this is probably not a true reflection of your true savings, but it's a reflection of what you're going to save between the year-round catalogs and the annual buy. And so you can basically expect a higher level, a higher percentage of savings of what you would buy on the open market if you went out and purchased it. So what we did is we brought those items back in. We had 145 of them that we've verified so far, and we're going to continue doing this out of about 740 hits in that query. And really what we're doing is we're going through and looking and saying, okay, is it the same product to begin with? Because they're matching on manufacturer numbers. If it is, then is it the same quantity, a unit of measure, which it's very seldom the same unit of measure. Usually we're buying in bulk on the annual buy, cases, dozens, whereas you're buying by the single in the year round. And so then we'll extend that pricing. And what we're finding when we do that is we're seeing on average a 63% difference in the markup. That's not your savings, but just the difference in markup. Your actual average savings is 32%. So on an order of $9,000, which is a smaller district, that's about what most districts would order on the annual buy. You're going to save about $3,000 approximately. 2,800. And so just keep that in mind as we go into budget cuts. If K-12 does get cut, this is one way to save some dollars, purchasing off the annual buy. Not all items have been are at a lower cost. And so as I scroll through my spreadsheet here, we do have an item here that we're able to find cheaper in the year-round catalog. So that item just happens to be the binder clips, and so we can verify that information. I got your emails today. I'll send you a link, a copy of my presentation notes today, and in there that link to this document will be there. If you happen to come into the document and see that these averages are on a negative number, it means that we're working in it and it's unfiltered. Right now, we're just looking at verified data right now. And so as long as they're not a negative number, you should be okay. But the one I'd like to point out here is just scissors. It's ridiculous comparison what we're seeing on scissors. There's on this particular one, there's 139% difference in the markup, or 58% savings on scissors. because you're buying single pairs of scissors versus on the annual buy, we're buying them by the dozen. So we've extended that pricing out on those singles to say, okay, if we bought a dozen of them, it costs us $113 versus $47.40 on the annual buy. It gets even worse than that. We see some down here that are 900% difference in markup or a 90% savings. And then we see one that's 1,216% difference or 92% savings. Again, these are single pairs of scissors, and scissors just really jumped out. And when I was verifying this data, it took me, I had to look at it and make sure it can't be right. And sure enough, it was. And so I had a hard time believing it at first. And so as we start doing more and more of these comparisons, we're finding this, that the annual buy is your best buy. So just figure, take it back to your superintendent and say, you know, we can cut costs here by purchasing off the annual buy. And it is a one-time shot, you know, in the year. We got to get that order in during that time period. So, but there's savings there to be found. So you'll have a link to this. You can look at it a little closer then if you want to look at data. Most people probably have seen enough by now. So with that, we're going to jump into the marketplace. If you want to kind of follow along, that's fine. I always launch you from our website, which is www.nesucoop.org. From here, you can get into the marketplace. You're going to also be able to get back to the resources that we have available for the marketplace. So under member procurement, if you go up and drop down to ESUCC Marketplace, you're going to see the marketplace resources. And there is where we have recordings of video of the marketplace, you know, adding users into the marketplace, approval chains, kind of explaining that whole process, approving and releasing orders. Basic ordering is a good one for your teachers to watch, and it's 22-minute video. I've not re-recorded that since last year, and there's been some changes in the marketplace. They're not extensive. I think this video is still applicable, but you know, we will want to re-record that. So, and so if you want to look at those, we'll do that. I do have video recorded for ESU 1, ESU 7 that I'm planning on uploading here. And so it's basically the same thing that we're presenting here today. So if you want to go back and look and say, you know, he was talking about something, it may or may not be in there exactly as it is today, but you can go back and watch one of those recordings too. So those are the resources that are available. If you go back to member procurement and down to browse product categories, these are the different categories that we offer and have contracts on. You're going to see it both on our website and in the marketplace. And so this is a new feature that we'll show on the marketplace. We're bringing all these contracts in there. If you really want deeper information about a contract or a copy of the contract, we're putting those up in the marketplace, and I'll show you where to get that. You know, if you're doing field turf running tracks, you can get those types of contracts here. The thing you have to be careful with on those is they are construction projects, so anything over 100,000 will need to be bid out. If you're working with the KSB law firm, they have some policy in place that allows you to utilize our contracts. If you're working with Perry Law Firm, then you may need to visit with them about the contract and see if it meets legal requirements for them in their understanding. But KSB law is looking at it as it is legal. And so they have policy in place for that, but work very closely with them when you're doing construction projects. So you can kind of see all the different categories. One of our big categories is food. And so we'll be bidding that out again this year. We bid it every 3 years. So after we get the annual buy up, that's what I'll be tackling next, is the food bid and getting that out for bid. So
I'm not convinced a hot lunch person to even.
We can do a food challenge and just say, take your invoices, and we'll send it to Cisco and say, you know, these are their current invoices. What would, if they were participating, what would they save on these same line items? And they'll go through in a spreadsheet. And we did this with one of the larger school districts, and I know what you mean. It's about relationships with those food vendors and their representative. And we would have saved this school district $45,000, and they still chose not to sign it, which just, I couldn't believe it. It is. It's a lot of savings. And so,
That'd be all on dry products, right? Because you have to order it all at once.
no,
How does
that's,
that work? I don't think we've been.
they will deliver, you know, on a schedule that they work out with the school district. So it's just like your current provider. Yeah. Thompson's, Cashway, and Cisco, you know, all those. And so Cisco is the prime vendor, and they were made the award. And so you sign a contract with us. And basically what we do is we take last year's expenditures on food, subtract the commodities from that, and take 60% of it and say, this is your commitment. You're going to buy 60% of your food from Cisco. You got 40% of the other that you can buy elsewhere. And so, you know, you're not tied into just that vendor then. And really, there's no penalty if you don't meet that 60%. And we've had that happen, but we highly encourage the school district to keep the program moving forward. We do $7 million a year in food commitments. So statewide.
To our lunch gal, and she would agree. Would you do that challenge?
Yep.
Then?
Yep, just drop me an email and we can, yeah, we'll get a rep out there, you know, in the area, and they'll stop by then, and I'll drop them an email and say, the school's wanting to do a food challenge. I'm thinking we're past the first of the year. We're going to rebid this, so we're going to be in a new contract. We're late enough in the year. It may be wise to kind of wait until we make the award. And if it's Cisco again, then we could move forward after we make the award. But it may not, because we'll have those contracts. The new year starts August 1 for the new year. So, but yeah, it's a growing program. The other big program is our custodial program, and so we have a prime vendor there with Supply Works, and so we have them in our punch out in our marketplace that your custodians can order that product from them. So, and we've got over 1 million SKUs from them listed. So it's pretty extensive. So those are our big programs, and all that information you can find here on the website or in the marketplace. So the last one is under member procurement and annual buy, and these are just resources that are available for that, the annual buy process. The dates, so if I come in here, ESUCC 2017 annual buy, it's gonna, you know, just give you some information about placing your order, payment terms, net 45. You know, we always have questions about taking it out of next year's budget year. That's your choice, but be advised that vendors, when you do that, if you're past the net 45, they can penalize you just like we can penalize them.
Are you opening the annual buy earlier this year than last year? Or was it about the same?
About the same. Within a couple of days.
How did you get that? I'm not.
If you go up to member procurement, annual buy, and then the ESUCC 2017.
Oh, you click on that?
Yep, it'll take you into that article.
I'm there now.
And so it gives you the dates listed there, and I'm hoping those are all correct. Got to go back through and make sure we've got everything updated everywhere. So those are the dates. I just kind of highlight them. Your paper is going to open February 1st. March 14th will be the deadline where paper closes, so all orders need to be submitted by then. April 12th would be the first day for the paper delivery. And then June 12th will be the last day for paper delivery. So on that last day, on June 13th, if you have not received your paper, you can assess that vendor 2% on any outstanding items. So that's in our bid terms and conditions. They know that I tell you that you can assess that. You have to do it on your invoice. And if it comes in on the 13th, it's a day late, you know, technically, yeah, you could assess it, but work with the vendors too. So that's the paper buy. February 20th is going to be your annual buy, where the catalog opens for ordering. April 13th is going to be the deadline for your teachers to have their orders submitted. So we have kind of two deadlines, one for your teachers. Then on April 17th, we run that order aggregation. So what that does is every teacher that ordered number 2 pencils for that address, it's going to get aggregated. The quantities are going to get aggregated into one line item going to that vendor. So they're not going to have 10 line items of number 2 pencils. They'll see one line item of number 2 pencils and pick that total quantity for your school address. And that's done by the address. April 21st, then between April 17th and April 21st, you'll have that week to go in and finalize your orders. And what that means is, what I've been telling schools is, rather than having teachers assign a PO, a real PO, you may have them assign a generic PO. And then during that week, then you assign the real PO. The reason being is you don't know what PO is going to go to the vendor until after order aggregation is run. It'll pick one of those POs of those 10 teachers that ordered the number 2 pencils. It'll pick one of those POs, and it's going to be the first one it comes to, and it'll utilize that for the aggregated PO. So that may not be what you want on the PO going to the vendor. So that's why we give you that week of time to go in and finalize and change those POs if you would like. May 17th is going to be the first day for the annual buy delivery then. So is that a problem? Orders coming early?
May 17th?
Yep.
I'd rather have them, yeah, when schools are not.
I like it that way.
I mean,
The sooner it comes in, the more we can get dispensed and the teachers can get in their classroom. And it's
I get
not
it.
lost over the summer.
our problem is storage.
Yep. You get it both ways. So my stance is, if it comes in early and I hear about it and you get stuff early, notify me. I'll get a hold of that vendor and we'll tell them to cease those orders. And we send that out on all the POs, but typically what happens is the people picking it have no idea what the bid terms and conditions are. And so as soon as they receive those, a lot of times they'll start picking them. And so every year we got to remind them. So that's our stance. I know some would prefer to have it early. My problem is trying to make a decision
When it
statewide.
comes in over the summer, it doesn't get checked in right, and then it gets put somewhere where it shouldn't be.
Yep.
And the teacher next fall is going, oh, you can't, blah, 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 blah. Well,
Or a teacher walks by and says, "Oh, I need one of those." I've had that happen.
So it's May 17th when they arrive.
That's the earliest date that they can arrive. So whether, your larger vendors typically are not going to deliver on May 17th, your Brown and Sanger's Pyramids. They're going to be compiling that in their warehouse and shipping in one large shipment. It's going to be your smaller vendors usually, but it's,
Staples usually deliver, so it's.
Yeah. Yep. And then June or July 17th is the last day for the annual buy delivery. So everything should be delivered by that date. If not, it's a 2% admin fee you can add to any outstanding items on July 18th. And that increases 2% each month it's late. So the first month it's 2%, second month 4%, third month 6%. Let's hope it doesn't go that far. What I would recommend is the week before that July 17th date, if you have not received it yet, contact that vendor and say, I've yet to receive, and remind him of the deadline. And I'm going to assess the 2% if it's late. that gets them on the ball and gets it delivered. And I think that's helped in the last several years. They know they're going to get assessed that penalty if they don't get it there. And so they're going to deliver it. Okay. Any questions on calendar dates? None? At this point, then we'll go ahead and get into the marketplace. From our website, if you, in the middle of the page here, we have the button ESUCC Marketplace. If you click on that, the things that you're going to be able to do is teachers can register themselves. Whether we have no way of controlling that, whether they just hop in and if you want them in there or you don't, they can go register themselves. One thing we do not accept is personal email addresses, so they need to use their school email address. If we get a school email address, a new one, a domain name that is new to us, we get notification of that. We'll go out and verify that the school owns that address and it is their domain. And once we've done that, we'll add that into a whitelist. And then the next person that requests and registers, we won't get that notification. They'll just have to confirm their email address. So when they come in here and register, they will get an email. They need to confirm that from that email. And as soon as they do that, then they would be able to log in. So to register, if they click on that, all they have to do is type in their agency name. And so if I type in Hitchcock, it's going to start popping that up and populating that. I select it from the list. And then all I have to do is fill out the information, my email address, my work email address, first name, last name, phone number, and password, and confirm the password. When they hit submit, they'll get that email generated to them. They confirm it, and then they'll be able to get in the marketplace. So it's very easy. It takes work off yourselves of adding those users. Everybody sitting here should have agency admin access. So what that means is you're able to add addresses in the marketplace. You're able to add users and change their passwords. And you're able to run reports. So those are the three things that you have that nobody else does in your district. And we can have multiple agency admins in the district. So we can set up superintendent and the business manager and the secretary or something if we want to. So that's signing users up. Likewise, if they forget their passwords and they come to you, tell them to use this feature, forgot your password on the login page, rather than you going in and changing it for them. Again, trying to save you some work here. All they have to do is enter their email address. They hit submit. It'll email them a password reset. They complete that and they should be back in the system. If they do that a couple times and they still can't get in, they come to you, then you may have to go in and say, okay, I'll change your password. Or either fat fingering the password or doing something else. They have cap locks on and they don't realize it, something like that. And so you can actually go in and it'll show you where to do that. So, but try and make it self-serving for them so they can do it themselves. So once they're at the login page here, we're going to go ahead and log in.
I don't think I have a login yet, just because I was operating on past purchasers login for the end of getting stuff, and I've never set one up for myself, so I don't know.
What's your last name?
Latta, L-A-T-T-A.
It's which one?
The bottom.
So you are in here,
Oh,
and you are set up as an agency admin, an approver, and a shopper. So
I probably do need my password.
so you can go recover it, and so you can do that. So the thing, and we'll do this later, we'll check to make sure you're in the approval chain now if you need to be. So we'll go through that a little bit later. So you're in there. So once you get logged into the marketplace, this is the interface you're going to see. Just to kind of give you a brief overview, I don't think we're going to really dive deep into it. But running up and down the left-hand side, we have categories. So if I'm looking for maybe furniture, I want to see those vendors that are offering furniture. I can click on that. These are the vendors that have some type of furniture in their offering. And you got a technology company here that offering tech furniture. And so it's kind of a mixture of all. Once you select a category, I would always suggest either coming back to home. That gets you to the listing of all the vendors, and this is your home page. Yep, we can highlight that here in a second. So what I've done is I've also added a category called ESUCC, because last year what we had is we had problems with school or teachers going in saying, only go to the annual buy catalog and order theirs. What I'm hearing you told them. Well, invariably they would go in and they would click on, oh, school specialty, we always order from them, and they would order from them instead of the annual buy. Those items are going to be delivered immediately because it's a year-round catalog. And so what we've done is I created a category called ESUCC. If they click on that, tell your teachers to go there if that's what you want them to order first from the annual buy. All the information for the annual buy is going to be listed here, including the PDFs. But if you scroll clear to the bottom of this page, there are the catalogs that are available. And so they are able now to punch out to the annual buy, and this is where they should be shopping if that's what you want them to do. So I'll go ahead and punch out to the annual buy catalog just to kind of give a brief overview. When I punch out and click on the globe there, it punches me out to a store. So it's kind of like myself, I'm in a shopping mall. Now I walked into a store in the shopping mall. And so this is the annual buy store. Again, this information is duplicated in the store than what we saw in the catalog or category. And so all this information will be available too. If I want to just browse the catalog, I can hit search with no search criteria in it. When I do that, I get everything in numerical order from 100,000s all the way up to the 900,000 section. And so I can just scroll through here and I'll paginate through using the page numbers down at the bottom to actually do my shopping. That's one way of viewing it. The other way is you've got a teacher, an art teacher. I just want to look at the art section. So they can come up to all products and they can pick the section that they want to browse. And they can come in here to 900 art and supplies, and now they're just browsing that. Now you notice when I do that, as I navigate in to the catalog, everything on the left-hand side changes here based on where I'm at in the catalog. So my categories now just went from all the categories previously to only the 900,000 art section categories. So now if I wanted to go into paint and tempera, I could narrow it down, those items that are just paint and tempera. And so very quickly get down to those items that I need. I can also search for tempera up here and get almost the same results. And so that's how you can kind of navigate within the marketplace. I'm going to go ahead and add this item to my cart. This is a new feature. If you remember last year when you added your item to the cart, it took you back to basically the front page of this store. And we heard that from many users, so I made the comment that we just need to be able to continue shopping where we're at. And so I don't have to re-navigate to where I was at. And so when I hit continue shopping, I'm right where I was. So that is a new feature, and so nice. It's subtle but nice. And so this company is listening to our requests. Every time a new release comes out, they tell us what state it comes from. Nebraska is listed on probably 75% of those. And so, and we're improving their products, so it's good improvements that they're seeing. So as I continue to shop, I just added that to my shopping cart. I can add a couple more items, and I will. And so I'm complete now. Lunchtime has come around. Last year, if I walked away from this, it would time out on me. This year, we fixed that problem. This is not going to time out here. If I close the tab, though, I will lose my order. So you don't want to close it. So the key is getting this shopping cart into the marketplace. And so it's going to transfer it out of this store and put it back into the mall shopping cart. And so if I go to my shopping cart and just say check out, at this point, it transfers it back over to the marketplace. We see it in here. When I'm to this point, I can log out now and it's saved. So this is the point you want to get to and make sure that it's transferred back.
So if they check their shopping cart and it's there, they can close that, and when they come back, they'll still be there.
As long as, yeah, in this
As long
section
as they're in the shopping cart.
of this shopping cart. Because you got two shopping carts. You got a marketplace shopping cart and you've got a store shopping cart.
Okay.
The store shopping cart is the one you want to make sure you get it back into the marketplace. Check out of that.
Make sure they're in the marketplace.
Right. Here they can, right now they can log out, sign out here, and log back into the marketplace. And when I do that, my shopping cart's still going to be there. And I see it up above here, the shopping cart icon. I click on that. I can go back into my shopping cart and see that it's there. Just don't close your tab out, your browser tab. You'll lose in the store. So when I'm back over here, punched out to the annual buy. If I'm here and have items in my shopping cart here, we'll just add one here and say continue. And then I close this tab out up here. It's gone. I lost it. So that's the one that you want to make sure that you transfer. So, okay. So that's our categories. Once I select a category, like I say, I kind of always go back to home. Searching the marketplace, there's multiple ways to search. You can do a category search up here, and by category, you have to choose one of the categories. If I select technology and then come over here and do USB flash drives, you notice as I start typing, it starts doing an autocomplete for me. So I can choose one of those from the marketplace search criterias. And when I do that, USB flash drives, it goes out and searches all those vendors that are categorized as technology vendors. And that's the only ones it's searching. And you can see it going across doing those searches. And you're going to see Quill, Staples, and you typically would not think of them as a technology company, but they sell devices like, you know, mice in there and keyboards and so forth, so we include them in the category. And this one's taken longer usually than it usually does, so depending upon how many vendors it's searching may define how long it takes to get your results. Once it brings your results back, it's sorting by relevancy. I'm looking for the lowest price on anything I order, so I go and resort this to lowest price usually. I can also do a search within my results. So I can come over here on the side and say, I don't want a 16 gig, I want a 64 gig USB drive. And this is kind of hit and miss because it's looking for this criteria. You're going to see some 16 gig show up for some reason. Within here, it's pulling 64 GB off of there somehow. But it's still getting pretty good results and narrowing those down. And so now I can see there's my 64 gig drive that I want to add to my cart. I add that to my cart. It brings it in here. So now the marketplace, you notice, doesn't give you that continue, so I always just use the back button and I'm back to where I was. Questions there? The other type of search is by supplier, and this is my favorite. I mean, this is going to get you the best results, the widest results. So I come up to suppliers, and I can choose a supplier, but I always just do USB or USB, all suppliers. And we can search for staplers here, and it's going to search all of our suppliers to see if they have a stapler available. Again, it takes longer for these results to come back because it's going through that whole list. But if you have no idea which vendors are offering what, this is your best results. And so then we can bring back these staplers and we can add those to our cart also. You notice when I add items to my cart, I get these yellow banners up at the top. These banners, pay attention to them because they're going to be helpful in saving you additional dollars. And I'm going to show you an example here shortly. But a lot of times if you're ordering from a technology company, Apple products have to be ordered directly from Apple. We have a cart message in those technology vendors to say Apple products will not be processed. And essentially they're going to be, if you put them in your cart, they're not going to be delivered. That's just Apple. That's what they require educational institutions to order direct from them. The vendors can sell it to other entities, but they can't education, and that's why they're in there. So pay attention. It will also talk about minimum shipping orders amounts. So Brown & Sanger does have free shipping on any orders $50 or greater. Otherwise, they're going to add shipping and handling fees to your order, which you do not see in the marketplace. And that would be a nice feature to have. It's a very difficult feature, though, to have. The only vendor that does include that is, because it's a punch out, is School Specialty. So if you punch out to School Specialty, it's going to calculate in their marketplace that shipping and handling fee and then transfer it back in. So if you meet the minimum coming from ESUCC, they know there's only a 50 to 49, actually it's 39 something. Well, here it is, $49 minimum on their order, and they'll bring that back into the marketplace correctly if you punch out. Now, if you search from School Specialty and add an item from here, so from the marketplace itself, then it's not going to do that. So shipping and handling is a touchy one that it's a tough one for this vendor to get a handle on because everybody does it differently. Each vendor does it differently. And so trying to create that feature is going to be very difficult. So that's kind of searching the marketplace. The one last search feature that is available is when we do a search up above, whether it's category or suppliers, it's only going to search those catalogs which we have what we call the search connector. And the search connector is this icon here, that the magnifying glass. That means that if I do a search up above, it will search those catalogs. So I'm not searching Brown & Sanger when I do these searches within the marketplace because it's a true punch out catalog. I have to punch out to their website and search from there. So we're still not getting the complete picture of comparison on the best price from all of these vendors, but they have to, essentially, Brown & Sanger has to pay a programmer to program that little search connector and provide it to us in an API. And when they do that, then we can include them. But right now, it's not searching Brown & Sanger. It's not searching BSN because they don't have those search connectors. So it's only those with the magnifying glass, which is the other way you can search. So if you click on that magnifying glass, you can do a search right here, and I can say I only want to search CDW, and I'm just going to go out and search only that catalog for Ethernet cables and bring those results back. And there's my Ethernet cables. I can add those to my cart. Again, here's the CDW free shipping on all orders. Apple requires educational entities to order directly from Apple. Apple products in your cart will not be processed. So that's the message I was talking about earlier. It's a requirement from Apple that you order directly from them. So these vendors cannot provide those. They're in there to shop, but you will never get them. Actually had a staff member order one of these Apple dongles, and she never got it and was wondering why, and that's why. So just keep that in mind.
So if you call them, do you have to give them our number so we get the discount?
For what, Apple?
Yeah.
Apple's direct. I mean, you got to deal with them directly. Yeah. Anything that's branded Apple, whether it's an accessory or a computer, iPad, whatever, if it's branded an Apple brand, then you got to order from them as an education institution. And your tech coordinator, if you're an Apple school, would have that info. So, all right. I do want to show you a feature here. And so if I do a search, I'm looking for a specific product number here. And so if I search for this product number, it will bring up a stapler that I know I can replicate this with. And so I search for this item number. Oops, needed to go. Actually, if I just do Quill and search, because that's where it's at. Well, I thought it was. Sure, I didn't miss. Yep, I did. I did that the other day. One too many 4s, and I couldn't replicate it with that one. So if I look at this item here, I'm shopping for it. I come up with this stapler. I'm looking into the information on this stapler. Pay attention to this information where it says similar products down below. You're going to notice the price here for this stapler is $57. We get it on the annual buy for $29. And so it's saying these are similar products based on manufacturer number or some other criteria that the search provided. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this item to the cart. Even though I see that price is lower here, when I add it to my cart, this is what I want to show you. We get a cart message here that tells us a lower price is found for an item in your cart. And so it talks about actually that Ethernet cable that I added earlier did the same thing. So I've got 2 items in my cart now. Both of these items were found in the marketplace someplace else at a cheaper price. So it's going out and it's querying this in the background as you're shopping, and it's telling you these are cheaper items. Do you want to compare these items, or do you want to replace it in your cart? If I click on the compare item link, I can go out and then do a side-by-side comparison and say, is this truly the same product? And looking at these, they're a little bit different, but they may still meet my requirements at a cheaper cost. And so I could add this item here to the cart, but an easier way to do it is hit my back button and say replacing cart. And you notice, just kind of watch these 2 items, these last 2 items, they will get replaced in the cart then. There's the one. So the Ethernet went from the cables to go cable to this one now. And so I can come back up here and replace this one because I want the cheaper price. And now it's been replaced too. So it's helping you shop for the cheapest cost. So that's a new feature this year and has been added. So, all right. Another item that has been added. So if I go back, I always click on Marketplace. It gets me back to my home page, essentially. And this is, as long as I haven't clicked on a category over here, it'll bring me back to this page. This year, you notice the Marketplace looks a lot busier with more vendors. Well, we do have more vendors in it. I think we're up to almost 21 vendors, I think, in what we call shoppable catalogs. I can actually place an order on the featured suppliers up here. And so I can go in there and order a commodity from these. We also have vendors down below listed. IXL was one of them you pointed out. We just recently got them under contract. And so if I want to find out information on any one of these vendors in the marketplace, whether they're a featured supplier up above or down below, I can click on them. And it's going to bring up an overview of that vendor. So we've provided a short overview here. We're also providing the contact information. So who do you need to contact to place this order? Since I can't place IXL right now through the marketplace, give me about a month and I'll have them to where you can order it through the marketplace. But right now it's not in there. And so this is where you can go get the information for that and bring it up. Let me show you another one, Field Turf. Field Turf is, again, it's construction, so you're going to have to follow your construction requirements with your legal team, they're going to ask for the contract and the bid documents. We're going to be able to provide those to you here. So off on the right-hand side, if I click on this link, it opens up that contract with that vendor. And this is our contract. I don't have the bid documents for this one in there yet. I'm working with our national organization on reorganizing their website and trying to collect all these files into a manageable area. And once we get those, then I'm going to up the bid document and the contract, so you'll have both. But that information is listed on the right-hand side. Other information you'll see is pricing sheets. You will also see flyers for that vendor possibly. And we can also provide, I've got it for Neil Fisk, a W-9 if we have it. And so we're putting all that in the marketplace. You have a link to their website and any other information you need to know about that contract. So it's all in the marketplace now. So it used to be if you had you wanted pricing for custodial cleaning equipment, you'd have to email me. I'd have to email you the price sheet. We couldn't put it on the website. This is password protected, so it's hidden. We can provide that information from the vendor then, because they don't want that information out to the world. Questions on that? I mean, it has gotten a lot busier, but we're providing you a lot more information too. Now, the thing you're not going to see in the marketplace is you're not going to see the contact information for the annual buy vendors. And that's what we've been waiting for, because we had to have the capability of turning these on and off for the annual buy. So we had 26 to anywhere, it depends on what year. This year it's 26. We've had upwards of 66 vendors in it. And so we didn't want all those listed in the marketplace if that's all we were providing is the contact information. We do provide that on the annual buy page, a link to those contacts as an Excel spreadsheet. So you can go out and download that and make those contacts to the annual buy vendors that way. Any questions on the marketplace so far?
Like IXL, but you finish it, it's not annual?
It's not annual buy, it's year round.
You go through and
Yep.
get it later. Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
go through the end.
yep. So ESUCC has essentially 3 storefronts. We have the paper storefront, the annual buy storefront, and then we also have a year-round storefront. And so if I go to that year-round storefront, and this is where IXL will be when I get it there, and if I do a search there, it's the World Book, My On Reader, Movie Licensing USA, IXL will be in there, Seesaw will be in there, and so it's a matter of fitting them in and getting them into the marketplace. It takes a little while sometimes, and so that's what we'll be working on. And some of those items come and go depending upon. So Movie Licensing USA does a open enrollment period where you get a discount if you order during that period. If you order at any other time, you're purchasing at full price. So get that one in during the correct time and open enrollment, and you'll be okay then. All right, let me see where I'm at. Go back to the marketplace. Any other questions so far? I'm going to kind of highlight the new features. We've seen a couple of them already. The vendor tiles, I call them. So I could actually come up here to CDWG, click on that, and get that information also. But because it's a searchable and has a storefront, I can go directly to that store by clicking on the globe, or I can search it right here also. And that was by clicking on that vendor tile. But I also have the vendor documents available. And so we'll update these flyers as we get them from vendors. CDWG does a good job of sending flyers out about it once a month. And so we put replace this one with the newest flyer. And those are your contact. Joel will be your primary contact. Mark Ellis is the one that does the national contract. So, but he wanted to be listed there too. So the last thing I'll show you then is just checking out of the marketplace. So if I click on my shopping cart, I'm done shopping, I've read all my shopping cart messages, I'm ready to check out. When I hit checkout, there's essentially 3 things a teacher or yourself will have to do. You'll have to choose your shipping address, your billing address, and your payment method. So they're kind of set up in tiles left to right. Shipping addresses, you as agency admins have the control of the number of addresses in your district. If you only want to list one address, only list one address. We do have addresses set up sometimes based on approval chains. So we have a K-12 district that has an elementary principal and a high school principal in that same building, same physical address, but we want all the elementary teachers to go and be approved by that elementary principal. We want all the high school teachers to be approved by that. So what we do is we set up it's the same address, but it's the high school, it's the elementary. And then those teachers choose those addresses, then it'll route the approval chain correctly then. It's kind of a workaround what we had to do because we don't have departmental approval chains, the capability of setting those up. So that's how we've worked around it. So that's the one case where you may have multiple addresses listed. I've had kickback from vendors I've had a couple districts statewide that have set up an address for each teacher. And I know what their thought is they're going to get that shipped to with their teacher's name on it. It's not going to happen on the annual buy. It will get aggregated separately, but vendors have contacted me and said, when this happens, what do we do? I said, aggregate it yourself. So they're going to put it all in one box. They're circumventing the bid process. And so they're going to get it all in one shipment anyway. So they're still going to have to sort it. And so I'm addressing that with those schools. So our goal is to get down to one physical address, essentially. We're not there yet because of the system. And we have to be able to do the approval chains, but we're getting pretty close. So they select the address from the list that they have access to. And so if I want this shipped to my office in Holdridge, I'd select that one. Likewise, we're going to have a billing address listed. Most school districts have one, but you could have 2 or 3 or whatever. And they would select that billing address then. And so there's only one here. Payment methods. We have very few vendors in the marketplace that will accept credit cards. And that's going to be a coming feature where we can turn that off for those vendors that don't accept credit cards. The 2 that do is Midwest Technologies. They can accept a credit card. And Paper 101 will also, which is the copier paper, one of the copier paper vendors. Brown and Sanger will not, though. And so I just recommend everybody use purchase order. You can enter the PO number here. If you want it broken down by vendor, click on the link below the PO number field, and then it'll expand that to where you can assign different PO numbers based on each vendor here. And so you can break that out, and you notice what it's done down below on my order. It's already broken it out anyway. And so I can break and assign different PO numbers. I can go 9001, 902, and so forth. So each one of those have their own separate purchase order. Depends on how you operate within your school district. Again, that was a recommendation coming from you. We had this last year, but that's how we addressed it. And at this point, I'd hit place my order, and that's when it goes into the approval chain. And so depending upon your school district, how we've set up that approval chain, it'll work its way through that approval chain. And that's where I think we will highlight now. So what I'm going to do is just kind of go around the room. We're going to check your approval chain and make sure it's set up correctly. So, and you said you were what school district? Dundee. And so there's 2 different ways we can set up an approval chain. We can set it up on the account itself. Right now, there's nobody set on that account, so that tells me you actually have an approval chain that it goes through. And so if we set users here, it's an or statement, And so we can set up to 3 of them, but when the first user approves it, then it's approved. It goes off to the vendor then. So it's really a approval chain of level 1 essentially. But it's a nice backup to have multiple people listed there. That way, if one person's gone out of the district, the other one can approve those. On this one, we'll go look at the approval chain then. So we've got an approval chain of high school and elementary, and there's 3 different people involved in this approval chain, it looks like. So for the high school, it first goes to Adam. And this is based on the shipping address. So this is that scenario I was just explaining where you have the same physical address, I'm assuming, but you want it routed to the high school principal and routed to the elementary principal. And so this is that scenario we were talking about. So we set up an address because of that. Eventually, we'd like to, like I say, get to one physical address here. But so that's the first one layer for the high school. The second one would then go to Jim. And then the third, yourself. So we did get this changed then. And so elementary would go to Mike. Jim again. And then yourself, I'm assuming. So we're good on that one then. So, okay, next, Wheeler. School district though, Chase. Yep, so we have Joey. Yep. Now, what you could do is you could place yourself in here. So that way, if he's out and you need to get something submitted and approved, you could go in and do it. And it's just a matter of then defining who should do it all the time unless I'm gone, essentially. So that option's there. Just call us if you want to change it. The other thing we can do, I had the case where a superintendent was out because of cancer treatment, been diagnosed, and they were on absent. And so in their approval chain, they wanted to leave him in there, but we approved it. So they called us. We documented all that information. I'll show you where that documentation is. And so I said, so-and-so called on this date and requested that we approve it on behalf because of this reason. And so we create an audit trail there that we went ahead and approved it, but we told why we did it. So we don't get a lot of those, but we get a handful of them every year. So, all right, those are easy ones. So I think we looked at yours already earlier, so we know you're good.
Michelle Lappin.
Pay Center. And so we've got an approval chain, I know, of 2, looks like. So Philip, first one. And yourself.
We might have to change that first one, but I'll have to go back.
Okay.
We got a new superintendent. Dr. Phil wants to be the first still, and
Just let me know.
I will.
And the main thing would be you can get them set up as an approver. They have to be set up in the marketplace. So you'll have to come over to admin. He can go and set his own account up, but as soon as he gets it set up, then you go to admin and go to users or marketplace users and search for that user. Izzy, what's his?
Primavera. PRIM.
A. There we go. And so right now he's not a shop or an approver, so you'd have to come in and check him as an approver then, if you decide. So these are, this is a good example of your users, agency admins, or yourselves, and we might want to make you an agency admin if we get you set up here. Approvers, anybody in the district, so they don't have to have agency admin. They can be approver only and a shopper. everybody should have shopper rights. Basically, I'm able to get in and place an order. It's still going to flow through an approval chain, so that no order should leave the marketplace without somebody seeing it before then. So API user, don't even worry about. If we're working with Grand Island Public Schools, and we're going to tie their marketplace into their accounting system. And it costs extra to do that, but they're a big enough district that they're going to go ahead and pay that cost. So
What accounting system do they use?
iVisions by Tyler Technologies. So, and it's not been developed yet, so that's why we're waiting for them. So that's what you need to do on the user there. So, okay. And then Hitchcock. We got a actual approval chain then, so of 2. So high school, elementary. So Mary. Now let me just. Well, that's it, and Melody. So it sounds like building secretaries. Yep. And so there's no. What we could do. Do you? Okay. Yeah, if you can set your account up, I can then add you as an approver then, and then what we need to do is we'll have I can do it all in one. Any ESU coop.org. Marketplace. ESUCC in the middle of the page there. There's a button. Yep. For both elementary and high school, so. Actually, so we're gonna make this 28, 29, 89 maybe. I'll set this up afterwards here. You'll approve both the high school and the elementary, right? It'd be your email address. Okay. Let me just go in and look, make sure you got. Hold on a second. You know what? Yeah, I didn't get an email on it, so I thought maybe it wasn't. Let me check here. Nope, I'm not seeing it. Oh, you'll get an email. Saddler. All right, I see it. Did you get in? Got it? So I've got you set up as agency admin and approver. I'll just have to set up that approval chain now. And once I get that set up, I'll let you know. It won't take me long after we get done here, so.
Like when an approval thing comes in, it'll come in your email and all you have to do is click a button.
Yep. Do you have it set up on email on your phone? You can do it here too. And so that's what's really nice. And so just as long as you don't want to make edits to that requisition, you're going to see the requisition in the email. As long as you don't want to make any changes, you can approve it. If you want to deny it, you can deny it without logging into the system. If you want to change quantities of anything, then you have to log in and change those.
Yeah, I would go back.
Yeah. So we'll get that. Let me ask you this. Do you want to be the first approver or the last? First approver. Okay. All right. The other thing I want you to look at and just verify are your addresses. And there's one item in the addresses that we utilize for the annual buy. So if you go to admin and then into your marketplace addresses and pull one of your shipping address is the one you should pull up, but if it's a shipping and billing, that's fine. But I want to make sure that you have an agency admin listed in this email. What I've seen sometimes is the business manager is not an agency admin in the district, maybe, but people think that they're going to receive a copy of this this requisition. They don't. This field is used only for the annual buy order aggregation. You are the person then, or that is the person that owns that order essentially when it goes to the vendor. And you are the ones that you're going to be able to log in and change the PO number during that week time period that you have to finalize the order. So you have to be an agency admin for one thing. And so just check and verify that it's correct. We don't want a shopper listed in there. We don't want an approver listed in there. It has to be an agency admin.
So it's somebody other than ourselves?
No,
Is that what you mean? Or?
it's probably yourselves more than likely.
Okay. Like right now, it has our actual bookkeeper, business administrator in there. Do I keep her in there? Is that what's?
Is she the one that's going to assign the PO?
I'll
numbers?
assign the PO. She does all the check writing and the.
So this is that person that is going to go in that week. So I would say you should be listed. Yeah. And so let's just make sure you are an agency admin. You do have the admin.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you're an agency admin.
So go ahead and just change the email.
I would, because it really needs to be that person that's going to be finalizing that order, and because it's going to be assigned to you, right. And you would not have access to it then. So you need to be, yeah. Okay. So really that's on addresses, that's the big one. The other thing I run into under addresses is where we've listed here with Adams Central, a PO box, and this is okay. They have a PO box as their billing, so that's fine. The problem we run into is if we have a physical address listed here as a shipping address and then a PO box on line 2. I've had one instance where a vendor is using a delivery verification with the shippers that they utilize, and they can't verify PO boxes. So it kicked it out and says address unknown. And so I would suggest in that case, rather than having a shipping and billing address with line 1 being the physical address, line 2 being a PO box, I'd set up 2 addresses, a shipping address that's the shipping physical address and a billing address of the PO box. Set it up that way. And you can do that. You have that capability. Does anybody have that situation we can look at? You do?
Well, I have it separate.
Okay, that's the way we want it, but you don't have it combined though. Okay, good. We should be okay then.
Can I ask you a question? Okay, when Father Rethauer approves it, he's the administrator. If he just approves it, he just clicks approve when he gets the email, but if he denies it, can he just click deny, or does he have to go in?
If he doesn't want to, if he wants to deny the whole thing, he can just click it there.
And he
But-
doesn't go in and change what he wants, he just denies it, and then I have to ask.
Let's look at a requisition, and maybe this will help you understand,
And I
maybe.
know there's been problems in the past where I sent it to him,
Mhm.
and then he didn't get it.
So
and
here's an unapproved requisition. So if I was the approver, I was going and looking at this, and I had the capability of approving this on behalf of that school. We don't do it unless we get called. But if I go in and look at this requisition, again, and Robert, you can always come back in and look where this requisition is, and by the red light, yellow light, green light. Green light means they've already approved it. So we know Terry has already made this approval, and it's waiting for Shiloh to make the final approval on this requisition. The other thing in a requisition, and this is where the audit trail comes in, and this is a new feature. We had a school call and just swore up and down that they did not make a change to a requisition, and they wondered how it got changed. So I had to go back to the vendor and say, can you look in your logs and see on this requisition number what was changed and who changed it? And we did find that. And I said, can you add that into there? And so this is what they did, is they, under details, you're going to see that information. And so you see on what date and time they approved it. But here's the other thing. If I'm editing this requisition and I change the quantities down here, it's going to show that detail up there of who changed those quantities now. And so we know exactly who made the change now, and they don't need to call us now. So it creates that audit trail of, if there's, and we had one case last year where a school called and just swore up and down, and it ended up, they changed it. They just didn't remember doing it or something. And I mean, the audit trail proved that. And it's like, well, we show this user changed it. And so that's where you go find that info. Nice, again, little subtle change, but it's very important. So yeah, they could come in here and update quantities then. And so if that's where I'm saying, if he wanted to change the quantities, he didn't want to approve it necessarily with the submitted quantities, but yet he didn't want to deny it. He wants to change those. He can come in here. He can also remove items. You can come over here and check box this and say remove selected.
Yeah, he doesn't do that, he just tells me, he denies it, and then he says change, whatever.
Yeah, sure. And that's it. When you deny one, you can put reasoning on there too. So, okay. All right. I think we're getting highlighted all the changes in the marketplace. So we've got approval change. We've looked at addresses as agency admins. We're okay on that. I will highlight just a couple things here. A new change this year is the supplier sites off on the left-hand side. And so if I drop that down, those are all the suppliers listed under featured suppliers. So they're shoppable catalogs. I can go directly to that vendor and punch out to that vendor by selecting them from this drop down on the right-hand side. So supplier sites. So if I wanted to go to Brown & Sanger, it punches me out to Brown & Sanger. I'm shopping on their site now. And so if I shop for that stapler again on their site, I can do that here. And do a search. And I'm doing this for a reason. Brown & Sanger is a true punch-out catalog. And so when I bring this item back into my cart, I can't change the quantity. So when I hit submit cart now, it brings it back in, but you notice the item down there, it's non-editable. It's a true punch-out catalog. There's no Go Store interface, what they call. So I have to go out, either remove this item and then go reshop for it if I want to change the quantities, or I could go and add an additional stapler and then create another line item if I needed to add. So just kind of FYI on those. That's the supplier. We will have a capability coming up, and you may want to look at it at the service unit. It fits well, called manager designee. And so rather than having, and it doesn't work well for schools, because if you already have an approval chain, what it does is you go in underneath a user and look for a particular user. And so the way the service unit would do this is you could create departmental ordering. And so the technology department may come to you. The staff development would go to the staff development director. And so those users in staff development, you would come in and edit those users, come in here, edit that user, and there's going to be a button coming in mid-February. And that button's going to look, I've got it here. I should have done it from. Questions. Got too many from this guy. Probably should have found it quicker over here. Yep. So it's going to look like this. And so you're going to be able to browse to their managers and set an approval for that user. So their manager needs to approve their requisitions. And it works well in a service unit situation where we have different departments or not that big, that you can assign those then. And that's kind of departmental approval chains based on users though. So it's overhead on managing it. If you're a larger ESU, is going to be difficult. Small ESU, it's not. So that capability is there. Or, you know, if you want your manager to approve it, it's going to go to them first, and then it's going to follow the approval chain. And that's why I say it probably doesn't work well for schools, because it's going to go to them and then hit the elementary principal, which you don't want it to do necessarily. So, and it's an all or none setting. So I don't know that we'll utilize it a lot. All right. There is another feature, and I've got to show it in our test site. This is really nice for the approvers in your district. And so it's, yeah. So if you have a requisition as an approver waiting for your approval, it's just a reminder to say, hey, there's an action that you need to take, and this menu actually shows and goes away. Now I got to find my business manager, and you'll see what I mean. So when I log into the marketplace, I get these quick links over here, and they're going to populate as you have items that need to be approved or need to be addressed. And it's just requisition approvals is the main one. We don't use transfer cards in Nebraska, so I wouldn't even worry about that. But essentially, it's just telling you have one requisition waiting for your approval. Click on the link, go approve it. And that's all it is. And so it'll disappear when you have nothing there to be addressed. And so that'll menu item will come and go.
And that's coming in February?
It's in there now. I'm not an approver, so I had to log in our demo site to show it to you, and that's why. But no, it's in there right now.
And they have to go to the site to see that there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have our elementary principal sometimes. Okay.
Well, he'll get an email though too. He also gets the email, so it's just another way to say, okay, he looked at the email, but he didn't do anything with it. Now he logged into it and is saying, okay, you still have a requisition that needs to be approved. So, and so it's just kind of a reminder to them and showing them that it's there. So, and that's about it on new updates. So, any questions, I guess, at this point? I'm going to show you how to get information out of the marketplace now. Annual buy is done. All the orders are placed. I want to get ready. So when they start arriving, I'll have everything ready. So to do that, you're going to go to, and I should have kept that site open. You're going to log in, and you're going to go to admin. And then you're going to go to marketplace requisitions. It's not the orders that you want to download, because that's all the aggregated information. And so it'd be the same as I'd be looking at it as a vendor would be looking at it. And you want to see the line item information for each one of your teachers. So you have to go to the requisition table in order to see that. So marketplace requisitions. When I get there, I want to apply some filters. The first filter is in the first drop-down box, and it's going to be, I want to look at all those approved. I don't want to necessarily look at any that are denied or canceled. I want the approved line items. The date range, you can just leave the default, because we're going to apply a filter. It doesn't have to match the date range of the annual buy, so just leave it. And the filter we're going to apply is going to be 2017-ESUCC-AB. So there's a code on our requisitions, 2017 ESUCC-AB, for every one of those items that were ordered from an annual buy catalog. And when I hit filter, it's not going to give me anything here because I don't have any data in our test site. But what I'll do is I'll jump over here to our live site and do the same thing. We'll search for data from last year. So I'm going to go back in here, select approved vendors or requisitions. Don't do anything with the date. This time I'm going to say 2016, just because that's so I can get some data. Yours will be 2017. But when I hit filter, then I get all the orders from the annual buy last year. And then at this point, rather than exporting the requisitions, we're going to export item data, because we want all the data that comes with that item. So the teacher that ordered it and everything. When I click that, it's going to give me a pop-up to say, download this data, save it to my desktop. I'll go ahead and save it to my desktop. It's going to be in a CSV format. So what I've done is I've already created these, because it takes a lot longer when I do it, because it does it for the whole state. Under trainings here, so ESU 15, I've created that export file from last year, and it's a CSV file. So this is where I'm going in and getting all my data. Now, let me just drag this down here. Zoom kind of plays with me sometimes here. There we go. And so the first thing I want to do, because of CSV, it will not save formatting. So I'm going to, very first thing do is come up here and say save as. I'm going to save it as a Excel file immediately. Once I've done that, then I'm going to start editing this document so it's a little more readable, if that's a word. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bold that top header row so it kind of stands out, so I know that's my header row. The other thing I typically like to do is I'll freeze that top row too. So under view, I'll come up here and say freeze panes. So when I'm scrolling data, my header row is always viewed there. So let's see, freeze panes, freeze top row. Once I've done that, now I can scroll my data and my top row stays. The other thing I'll do is resize all my columns. To do that, I'll go ahead and I'll click this triangle in the upper left-hand corner here. That selects my whole spreadsheet, and then I just move my cursor over to anywhere, any column between the columns, and when I get the dual arrow icon, I just double click. And what that does is resizes all my data to the width of the data. And so now I can read a little bit, the data in there. If I get a large, wide one like contract maybe, I'll scroll that down sometimes and do a wrap data on that. So highlight, yep, and just move to in between and then double click. and then it'll resize all the columns for the whole spreadsheet to the width of the data.
With the max data.
Yep. And so then I can come in here in those columns that I maybe want to do word wrap on, I can go and start doing that. And so turn word wrap on. Let that pop out of here. So where is word wrap? Why am I not seeing it?
It's under.
Format.
If you right click on it and do format cells and do alignment and then wrap.
Yeah, there's usually one there too. So format cells. There's another way of doing it.
Alignment there.
Alignment, yeah. There's a shorter way. I gotta find it.
Probably.
That's gonna bug me now.
Who was that?
Oh, there's a menu item here usually, and so I might, well, right there, no.
What are you trying to get at here?
We're gonna set this up so when items come in for sorting, so you get all these items in bulk. I operated a warehouse for ESU 11 for 17 years, so I did it for 13 school districts. So it's the same process. We're just doing it for the schools then. So, and so that, yeah, this doesn't really matter probably. So I'm gonna get rid of the columns I don't want. I'm gonna adjust all that. My first tab is really my master data, and I just kind of leave it alone. I don't manipulate it too much. And so when I get this set up, I'm just going to stop here, but I'm going to add 2 more sheets to my spreadsheet. And the first sheet I'm going to name receiving. And so when I do this, this is when those items hit my door, I'm going to go to this sheet within this file and say, okay, I got a shipment from Brown and Sanger. I'm going to sort this tab by vendor name. And so then I can go down and see Brown and Sanger. These are the items I've got from Brown and Sanger. So I've just narrowed that whole order down to only Brown and Sanger.
And how did you get that in?
And we're building that out. So down here, I added 2 sheets, a new sheet. There's a plus sign. And then I right click on that sheet and just named it receiving. The sheet 2, I'm going to rename that to labels. And then I'm going to go back to my master, and I'm just going to select all again. Again, using that triangle up above, I can select everything up above, do a Control-C to copy it. And then I'm going to come over to receiving, place my cursor in the first cell there and hit paste. Likewise, I'm going to do the same in labels. So I just copy that data over, and you'll see in my next step why I do separate sheets. So the first sheet on receiving, this is the one that we're going to utilize when items come in and so forth. So I don't need this row here, column. I would delete all the columns I wouldn't need. But here's my teachers listings. So those are the teachers that order those items. Email address we don't need, we can delete those. The contract is going to be your vendor name. And then the item is going to be the item number. So the way we're going to sort this sheet, we're going to come back over here, come up to data. I want to sort this by vendor first. And so I'm going to do a multi-level sort by choosing sort. And when I do that, it selects my whole page. And the first level of sort I'm going to do is going to be by contract, which is the vendor name. I'm going to add a level. And that is going to be item, because after the vendor, we want it sorted by item number numerically after that, just to make it easy to find items. And once I've done that, that's all I need to do here and say, okay. So it resorts that spreadsheet. Now when ACCO comes in, I can go directly to ACCO and say, okay, I should have received 3 items from ACCO. I only got 2, so what am I missing? This is the other thing I would do, is I would insert over here where it says quantity ordered. I would probably insert here one called quantity received. And as I receive items in, I'm going to keep track of it here. So then when I get done at the end of the year, I can go back and filter out those items that I have not received. So I said filter. How do I do a filter? Turn filtering on each one of these sheets by selecting the header row and over under home. And this is on PCs. If you're using Mac, it's a little bit different. I can come over to this filter, sort and filter. When I select that, I get this little filter. When I turn that on, watch what the columns do, the column header. You get a little triangle now. And so I can filter on this. The reason I do this, so at the end of the year, I could come over here to quantity received and say if I had 4 here, 4, 1, 1, 2, what I could do then is I could apply a filter. I could say select all, unselect all, and the only ones I'm looking for is those items that I've not received, which are blanks. I have not put anything in that field. Now I've got a filtered list of items that I've not received on the annual buy very quickly. That's how I would use filtering. And so as long as you keep this up to date as you receive items in, then you could do this at the end of the year and very quickly find out what you're missing and what you don't, what you've received and what you're missing. The other column I would add, now I talk about filters. This thing you have to be careful with filters. Now we're looking at filtered data. That data is still there, but you're only viewing according to any filters you've applied to these columns. And you can apply multiple filters across the columns. And so I could filter on any items not received, and then I could come over here and I could say filter on the contract for Brown and Sanger. And so here's another way to do, rather than checking those boxes, if I start typing Brown, if I spell it right, it's going to look into my data in that whole spreadsheet, and it's going to come up with only that instance that it found in that column. And so it's a very quick way to verify data in a spreadsheet. And it's you just say okay at that point. And so now I'm looking at unreceived items that I've not received on the annual buy from Brown and Sanger. So you will have to, yep, give me a call if you have any questions there. Yep. And so if you have filtered data, filter set on columns, you need to kind of remember to go back and unfilter the data is the problem. So you can come in here and say clear filter here, but I'm looking for up at the column headers, and you see the little icon there, so I know I've got a filter applied to that column there. So then I want to undo that one too. Select all is going to do the same thing as clear. So there's 2 different ways you can clear that. So now I'm back to my original data now. So that's how I would utilize this spreadsheet for the receiving. Get a package in, it's Brown and Sanger. Now I can go to my spreadsheet. These are the items that I should have from Brown and Sanger, and then I can start checking them off. Packing slip, they said it shipped 6. I only received 4. So how do I keep track of that? What I would do again is I'd insert a column here somewhere and just put notes. And then in that notes, I can keep track throughout the year for that item. Packing slip stated 6 shipped, only received 4 on, whatever the date is, and put that date. So then at the end of the year, I go back and they still haven't received those other 2. I know why. But what I'd want to do is I'd want to take that packing slip right away that day or the next day and write a statement on it and say, we received this shipment yesterday. Packing slip said the 6 were shipped, but there was only 4 in the shipment. We're short 2. Please reship the other 2 and report that directly to the vendor. To help do that, on our website, we have provided you a document that you can utilize. And so under Member Procurement Annual Buy, if I go into that resource page, this discrepancy reporting form, if you open that up, it's the document that we used to utilize in our warehouse, and it just gives you the fields of, this is the pertinent information that vendor is looking for. They want to know what date they received it, who's reporting it, what school. ESU probably doesn't matter to them. Our co-op item number, so they kind of have a reference for it, and then the item description of it. The vendor name, we always just put on that for our purposes, so we can go back and say, well, that was Brown & Sanger, that was school specialty when we look at these later. Quantity and unit packaging. And so this is where it's like, okay, do I list the quantity that I should have received or the quantity that I actually received? So I'd put the quantity that you received, and then in the discrepancy said, I only received 4 of these when it should have had 6 on the order, and it shows 6 on the packing slip. So there's a discrepancy here. Report that to the vendor, send this to them, and it helps clarify. Yeah.
Go back to where you got that.
Yep. And so from our website, member procurement, annual buy.
Member procurement. Make categories and supplies.
No, member.
Back further.
Just, you should have a drop down. So go up to member procurement, and then you'll see annual buy here. See my, up here?
You should be put back at the start.
Are you in the marketplace? We do have it also in the marketplace, I believe. So if I go into this Zoom, when I'm recording stuff, it bugs me when it drops down like this. I don't want to do that either. Wait for it. So in the marketplace, it should be in the store. So you would go to the annual buy store here and punch out to that, and it should be listed here somewhere. Maybe we don't have it in here. We should add it then. I thought we had it there. So yeah, the only place it's available on the website, member procurement annual buy. Select the article then, 2017, and then scroll down. And it should be there. Is that helpful though, to have that document? Just kind of a guideline to say, and this is the information I should provide to that vendor at least. And if you're not, it doesn't have to be in that document as long as you provide pretty much that information back to them. They should have all the information needed. They'll want a copy of the packing slip and a copy of the freight ticket probably. When you're checking freight in, make sure your freight ticket, you're signing for, that you've counted what you're signing for. So if you're signing for 1 or 2 pallets, you have 1 or 2 pallets, those are easy. If you're signing for pieces, you're gonna have to count them, because they will always come back in a discrepancy like this. And if you signed for it and it said 60 boxes, but really it was only 58, there's nothing they're gonna do. You signed for it, so they're saying that you quantified.
So when they mail a mixed lot, you have to go through all of that before you sign the shipping form?
I'm talking the freight ticket. So if it comes on truck on a pallet, I always ask when they bring the pallet off for that trucking company, what am I signing for? Am I signing for pallets or pieces? Pallets are easy. You sign for 1 pallet.
Okay.
Now you may sign for 1 pallet containing 56 pieces. Then you need to count it.
So you need to open every box.
You don't need to open the boxes, but you just need to know that you've got 56 boxes on that pallet, and that's what you're signing for. No, you wouldn't go through and verify everything that's received on the packing slip. That's later.
Right.
But I'm just verifying with that freight company that I signed for 56 boxes. Then they know when I go back to this discrepancy report and say, we're short 2 boxes, they say, well, you signed for 56. That's how many there should have been. If you would have signed for 54 then and said, wrote on the freight ticket, then you would have a case with the vendor then. And they can go back against either the freight company or the vendor will pick it up. That's where we get into the most problems, I think, is that freight ticket. UPS, you sign for pieces. FedEx, you sign for pieces. So You should. I mean, you need to make sure how many boxes am I signing for UPS. You know, there may be 30 of them there, and they've got a whole stack. A lot of people just grab it and sign. Count them. Otherwise, you have nothing to go back on. So, okay. All right, let's get back to our spreadsheet here then. So that's, you kind of understand what I'm setting up for the receiving part of it. The labels is something else. So that those items come in, you're going to receive that product in more than likely, but I may have a high school student helping. And here's how you can do this. I had high school students work in our warehouse all the time. I would receive the item in, make sure it's what we're supposed to be receiving in the correct quantities in the packing slip. Once it's marked off, I'd have a magic marker and I'd write the co-op item number 100, 140 on the box. And then I may write per 12, per dozen, per 24, per case, whatever it may be. So they know how it's packaged for each order on that box, and then slide it off. And then I go on to the next item. That student would come in, and the labels, they would utilize this labels tab. And you could print a numerical listing out, you know, of items and just sort it by numerical, and they could go off a sheet and circle them as they're, you know, cross them off as they, and that's kind of what we did. It was the sorting book that we had, and it was sorted numerically, and they would just go in and say, okay, 100, 140, teacher A, 100, 140, teacher B, and they get these quantities. So you have that sheet, and they can just go down and circle them as they package them up. They're taking these labels in and putting on them. The label's going to have the item number, the manufacturer maybe, and the teacher's name and the quantity that was ordered. All pre-printed. You have it ready to go before it even hits your door. And so they just numerically open that envelope up then of all those labels, flip the pages, keeping them in numerical order, and find the numerical number they need for that product and stick it on those boxes. Then they could take those boxes to the classrooms. Possibility of getting some help maybe from students. I did it all the time. You know, obviously, you know, you want a well-organized student. I tell you, the level of staff that I had sometimes, I had one kid, I had to show him how to sweep the warehouse floor, and I finally sent him home. It's hard to believe, you know, some of the kids, you know, they just don't know how to work these days. But I was in a teaching mood, and I thought, well, this is his first job. I gotta try it with him. So you know, some ideas there to get you some help. So the receiving tab pretty much add those two columns: quantity received, quote, and notes. You may add some more if you find, you know, a need for something. In notes, I would keep track of my damages. You know, if there's a damaged item, I'm going to notate that here again so I can come back to it later. My quantity received obviously is going to be one less than the number that was damaged. Or
so the co-op number for the item number is
item.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what in the marketplace, what we had to do is we didn't have a field for item number. We have one called supplier part number, but that's their number. And so we make this number up ourselves. And so it's just a reference for us, so it doesn't benefit anybody else. So we had to concatenate the item number field and the description and put them in the same field. And that's why they're together. But if you sort, because the item number, if you sort on this numerically on this number or this field, it's going to sort numerically because the item number comes first. So it's going to sort that numerically all the time. So again, those quantity received, notes, keep track of damages and shorts in the notes, and you know, that's your receiving tab. Your labels tab is the next one. So we're going to set this up. Everybody done mail merge before, or do you know what you've done them? Okay, no. We'll walk you through how to do a mail merge, and this is taking a large amount of data and putting it into one document essentially And so you can utilize this for other things, mailing out your newsletters to your constituents in your district or whatever. So take this back and use it for other purposes too. So on our labels, we want to start off by sorting that data again. And so I go up to data and do another sort on this. For this data though, we want it numerically. Because that way those kids can find those labels very quickly. If they know it's in numerical order and they keep them in numerical order, then they'll be able to find them quickly. So we're going to sort by item, which is that item number first. After that, it really doesn't matter, but alphabetically, I'm going to sort by username. So then it'll do by the teacher's name alphabetically after that. And essentially, once I do that, hit OK. Resorts my spreadsheet. I'm pretty much done with this. It's ready to go. I'm going to save it. Now to do our mail merge. A mail merge is taking a Word document and an Excel spreadsheet. Your Excel spreadsheet is your source data. Your Word document, we're going to build the label out and it's going to look into the spreadsheet. So I'm done with this for now, so I can close it out. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and open up a Word document. I just do a blank sheet, start a new document. And what we're going to do is a mailings. It's under the mailings menu. So I go up to mailings and I'm going to start a mail merge. And then there's a step-by-step wizard I just would have you walk through. I mean, you can, when you get really good at this, you can get in and manipulate these things, but if you're new to it, go through the step-by-step. And through the step-by-step, it's going to just kind of on the left or right-hand side here ask us, what are we doing? So we're wanting to build labels. So we're going to choose labels. That's the only question there. I'm going to hit next. It's asking essentially what label are you going to utilize. So I need to come down to label options. And I have examples here. Pass those around of labels that kind of what this is the one we actually use. It's a little bit different format here for more for the needs of the schools. On one side of the page is going to give you the codes. On the other side, it's going to give you data and what it looks like when it's printed out. So this label is a Avery 5161 label. So here I have to choose that label. And so I come up to label vendors and I choose Avery. The first time in, it's not going to go right to the one I need. And so I choose Avery, US letter. And when I do that, then I got to scroll down and find that 5161 in the list here. So numerically, if you look on the box of your labels that you have, you don't have to use this number. You can use any one. But if you use Avery, they tend to be a little bit better, more expensive label. But a Mako 2000 is an Avery 5161. So it kind of correlates. There is an issue with that. I'll let you know that in just a bit. So I choose Avery 5161, verify, the measurements matches up with what it says on the box, and they do. And so I say, okay, click next. This is where we're going to point to that spreadsheet now. And so where are we going to get our data from? So we're going to browse to that spreadsheet. We're going to go to the desktop. I've got it in trainings here. And I saved it as ESU 15, that Excel file. When I open it, what will happen is it says, okay, I see there's multiple sheets here. What sheet in that file are you wanting to utilize? And this is why I had you rename that so you can easily remember that it's labels. So I choose the labels tab or sheet and say okay. At that point, it's going out looking at the data. If you want to remove any lines, maybe as a user you maybe want to remove your own. You don't need to put a label on your own stuff. You could do that here by unchecking that. Say okay, and so then it starts building out that label then. So you see all the next record fields. We're going to duplicate this here shortly, but what we need to do is we need to put these field codes that are on the back or the front, however you're looking at it, or you had a greater than sign and less than signs. Those are your field codes that we're going to look into that spreadsheet for. And to do that, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say existing list right now, and we're going to arrange the labels. So we've already selected that sheet. Now I'm going to insert these field codes in. To do that, I come down to more items. And the first field code we're going to insert is item. When I hit insert, I'm going to hit close. I want a hard return now. So I hit return. And now I want the manufacturer. And so then I'm going to put the manufacturer in there, insert, close. I want a space between the manufacturer and the manufacturer part number. Go back to more items, go to manufacturer part number, insert. Close, we're going to do another hard return. Now we want the teacher's name in there. I'm going to do more items, user, insert, close. I'm going to hit a space, and I want to know, I'm going to bold this, quantity, QTY for short, colon, and then I'm going to insert the field code for the quantity that they ordered, which is quantity ordered, and hit close. That's really all the information that they need or I need to put on that package then. What I want to do is I'm going to crunch this down so it's going to fit all on my label. And so I've got some space in between my lines. I want to crunch it down. So I highlight everything and go to paragraph. You notice the before font is 5.55. I'm going to put that to 0. And once I've done that, hit OK. It crunches everything down on my label. And the reason I do that is some of our descriptions get a little long, so it'll wrap it. So it gives yourself room on that label then when you do that. Looks good. I don't need any more information than that probably. It's got my teacher's name on it, the quantity that they ordered. So yeah, all I did is highlight it. I took my mouse and drug and highlighted essentially that it's a paragraph. It sees it as a paragraph. Then I right click on that highlight and I get this drop down and I come down to paragraph. And then, I mean, yeah, there's applications all the time. You get extra white space in there that you want to crunch it down on a document or something. You can do the same thing. And so then it was 5.5 here on the before. And so I just crunched it down to 0. And at this point, that's just one label. So what we have to do is we come down here and it says update all labels. Once I do that, it replicates that across all my entire document for the number of rows that I have in my spreadsheet. Once I've done that, I can go on to the next page then, and I'm previewing the actual data now. So you notice this is ESU 15 area schools, names. Aaron from McCook is in there. So this is actual data from last year. And so at this point, if I need to make changes, then I just kind of back myself to through the previous and make those changes, adjustments or whatever, space here or hard return there, however I want my label to make, and then I can complete this. And so then I click on next to complete the merge. Rather than print directly to the printer, I never do that. I'm always going to edit individual labels, which allows me to then save it as a Word document. Couple reasons. I can always go back to that document and print another page. I had some kids in the warehouse one year or something and had the fans going and lost a sheet or went underneath, some of our shelving, and so I had to reprint that page or something like that, And so click edit individual. We want to merge all of them, say okay. When I do that, I'll be able to save this to my desktop then if I wanted to. First thing I would do then is I'd print just to a plain sheet copier paper, take that copier paper, hold it up with label sheet behind it, line it up and make sure everything's going to line up on the labels correctly. Hold it up to the light and you can see that through. And as long as it looks like everything lines up, then I print the whole document. If I'm using Mako 2000 labels, I found that we printed 1,000 pages at a time. Mako, for whatever reason, it tells you to use Avery 5161 for your template here. After 50 pages, it starts. So what I would do, it was after 100 pages. So what I'd do is I'd print page 1 through 50, 50 through 100, 100 through 150, and then it took care of that problem. For whatever reason, so that resolved it. At this point, you take these labels and stick them in an envelope and just tell your kids to keep them in numerical order, and you should be good. And so when the product shows up, they could help you, or you could do it yourself. As you check it off, pull the labels off and stick it on them. Had one school last week tell me they didn't do this and they wish they did. And when she told me the story, I would agree. Over the summer, they had a contractor come in the gym, was doing some work in the gym, which is where she had everything piled, and she had piles. She knew exactly what teacher's pile is what. A contractor come in and move those piles, and she didn't have any labels on anything, so she had to go back and resort everything again. She was furious. So she said, this would have saved me. And I said, well, I never thought of that. I'll tell your story and hope it don't happen to anybody else. But any questions up to this point? I don't know that I kind of highlighted everything. Not that I'm missing anything, so I've thrown a lot at you. Just want to make sure we're getting everything here. It's covered. Everybody understands order aggregation, and it's only on paper and annual buy when we do that. So it's order aggregating all those teachers' orders into one line item for each address you have listed in the marketplace. And you have that week to go in and assign real POs after that. Something I didn't highlight is just reports in the marketplace. It's there. I don't know how much you utilize it, but under if you go to admin and then marketplace reports, you're going to get, and I'm in the right place, so marketplace reports. You can do orders by supplier, essentially, I think is about all you maybe have. And is that correct? And it's based on date. So if I wanted to see, what we're ordering, what's our biggest supplier that we order from, I can go back to the very beginning of when we opened the marketplace in 2015 and do a filter, and I'll be able to see what vendors we've actually placed orders with. I can do a total, I can sort by total value, and so I can resort these columns. And so I know that ETA Hand to Mine is the largest vendor that we've bought from. If I want to see what orders were placed through ETA, I can click on that and I'll bring up those orders from that vendor. So that's, I think, the extent of the reports. There's not a lot there, but it may be helpful to you. Annual buy, receiving, paper update. Paper catalog will be available next week if I get it finished. I'm working on it last night. So paper delivery, 3 options on the paper. Remember, we have FOB delivery, which is essentially, it's included in the bid. It's free shipping, but it's free shipping. They'll drag the pallet from the front of the truck to the tailgate. It's your responsibility to get it off the tailgate and onto the ground. So we have 2 options available. The first option, and these are per vendor, so if you place an order with Brown & Sanger and one with Paper 101, you have to choose shipping options for both of them. Otherwise, they're just going to give you FOB to the tailgate. But one's liftgate services. They're going to take it off the back of that truck, drop it to the ground, take it off their liftgate, and set it there. It's your responsibility to move it into the building. And then there's liftgate to inside delivery services. Costs on that vary dependent upon what vendor. Paper 101 inside delivery is $3 a case. And it has to be accessible for a pallet jack, essentially. So they lift it off the truck, put it on the ground, they roll their pallet jack right into the warehouse and drop it for you. They're not going to cart all those cases of paper on a 2-wheel cart through a door. And so that's the stipulation with inside delivery. So if you want inside delivery, work with your football coach for a workout period maybe, and when that truck shows up, have the football players carry it in. Maybe that's their workout for the day. Frankly, I don't think it's worth the $3 a case myself, but they are passing. It's not the paper vendor it's not their cost. They're just passing the cost on from the freight company, and that's what freight companies are charging. We've seen this in the last 4 or 5 years. There are freight companies. I've got local freight company, Brown Transfer out of Kearney, that used to bring stuff into the building. They'll wheel it up there. And I was really good friends with the truck driver, and he says, Craig, next time I have to charge you for this. He says, just company policy. We're changing policy. And that's not the paper vendor, that's the freight company. So keep that in mind. So though when you check out of that paper order, you'll have to choose one of those options at least. And so again, you'll want to make sure that you have those in your cart for both Brown and Sanger and Paper 101 if you're ordering from both of those. Calendar, we do have a running calendar on our website. Right up here. And so it's right on our website. So if you ever want to come back and see what the dates are, it's a Google Calendar, so it's updated dynamically as dates change for the next several years. We may not have next year's dates on there yet exactly, but when we do, they'll show up here. So you can kind of keep track of what we're doing as we're doing it too. So any questions? I think I'm to the end of my content, unless you have more. Yeah, deleting. Yeah, good point. Can't delete, but let me show you what you do. I wish Zoom would, yeah, I really hate that. So if I go back to our marketplace, so if you go to admin and then to marketplace users, you'll get the capability of just saying new user. And when you get new user, yours is going to be just a little bit different than mine. I've got more options. Do you even have, you don't have username, their email. So here's a good point. If you've ever changed your email addresses, you can change your email in your profile. So if a teacher can come up here and change their email up here under profile, but it does not change their username. They have to email us to get their username changed. And if it doesn't change, your email address doesn't change, you probably won't have a problem.
So if somebody gets married, they still have to log in as their maiden name, blah, blah, blah.
Yep, that would give you, yep. They can email us though and say, what I have them do is usually go ahead and update their email. So when I go in and look at it, their email is already updated. I just copy and paste it into their username and then they're updated. And that way I know that I'm not fat fingering their email or something.
I'll just,
shoot me a list of,
yeah,
yep.
shoot me a list.
Now what you can do is you can go in and edit that person's email also and change it for them and then email me and say, okay, go in and update this user's username, email. I've changed the email and it's in there. So to change your password, just scroll down. Here's where, a teacher comes to you and says, I've tried to do that password recovery. I'm either not receiving it or I just can't get it to change. They're fat fingering or something. So you can come in here and you can type it in for them. Password, confirm password. then you're going to hit update, and it'll update that user. And then you could go over, and so you know that they're typing it incorrectly, type it in for them and log in as them and verify it. Then you know it's something on their end that they're doing. They have the cap locks on or something.
What about deleting?
Deleting. You can make them inactive. You can't delete them. But you can send me an email. You can send co-op an email. So coop@esucc.org and just ask to have those users removed. That way my staff,
ESU15.org.
coop@esucc.org. Nope, I don't work for 15. Sometimes I wish I might. And this is where you actually set up, their roles also, under users, and whether they're only a shopper, approver, or agency admin. So, okay.
Now that's on new user, right?
That's a new user, yeah.
Okay. I'm looking at the user, I don't see username.
You don't, you won't. That's what I'm saying. You gotta,
Oh,
you
okay.
don't see it. I see it, but you
Okay,
guys,
all right.
so I'm the only,
Okay.
it's one of those that equal level. I don't know why they don't allow you to change. I wish they would. And I'm going to push them to let it. I think they're afraid that you're going to screw something up. I don't know what.
It's like in some places.
It could relate to approval chains, I think. And if you're an approver.
I know you didn't change it,
Yeah.
but I just didn't see it now.
So yeah, you make them inactive. I definitely, anybody leaving the district, make them inactive. If nothing else, I mean, they can't get in then, and if they come back, then you can reactivate them. And so then we don't have to recreate their account then. And a lot of systems will do that, we never delete. We always keep everything in there. I kind of like to keep things cleaned up sometimes and go in, and so it doesn't matter. Send me a list and we'll delete them if you want them out of there. Anything else? Question for you. Is this training needed yearly? You feel?
Well, it depends on how much you're changing.
I get that I haven't had a session yet. Somebody's asked it.
It's a nice refresh.
Yeah. In person, or
Not much a year.
you prefer it in person, or?
I prefer in person rather than webinar.
Reason I asked, just because of budget cuts, are asking for travel cuts and stuff. So I mean, and so we haven't made no decisions yet, but at least I have feedback from you guys to say no. And what I heard the other day is, if I did that over Zoom, I'd be interrupted so many times during this presentation, it wouldn't do me any good in my
Well, and
home.
that's why I'm thinking here, you're away from everything that's happening at the school, and nobody's
Still
find
there.
you.
Yeah.
They tend to be able to find you no matter where.
They find your hiding spots, don't they? Yeah. So I'll take that feedback back. We haven't made a decision yet for next year, but it's a good refresher, and I don't know that we need it every day. Good.
And Excel, so see, it was.
That's 2 days in a row I had somebody say that. One was a tech coordinator yesterday. So, but other than that, just if you get into trouble, need some help on getting these extracts, let us know. We can connect over Zoom and stuff, and help you out a little bit if you can get a hold of us if we're around. So, right. Zoom is this is and right now I'm gonna go ahead and stop this. I'm actually